gauntlet as to who are the world champions.
You've got to handle pressure at this level.
Listen to this. This crowd of these players. They said they couldn't do it.
There was a huge amount of pressure on this football team because the Pommies hadn't won the Ashes for many, many years. We lost the first test.
I hate losing, so you know, it's something we have to live with, I guess. But you know, we'll make sure we win every game from now on.
A terrific crowd and an incredible atmosphere, and so many nerves must be still in the dressing rooms.
And here comes Mal Meninga and the Australian team for this extremely vital test match. Bob Fulton, he has an immense load on those shoulders today.
Now, we talk about the big plays, we talk about limited opportunities in big games, but players that can own the moment, they win the big games.
Unbelievable reception for these guys. They will become something of godlike if they can win the Ashes at Old Trafford.
Bozo had made a number of changes, and I went to halfback, Cliffy Lyons went to 6, and that was a huge achievement for myself because Alfie and I had always been fighting over the halfback spot, and getting that jersey was enough motivation to not wanting to let anyone down, especially my teammates.
On the line, the Ashes, Meninga.
Roach comes straight down the centre. Back to Elias. Stuart, quick hands to Lyons. Lyons across field. Oh, what a good fend that was. As Lyons gets it away to Mackay. Mackay finds a bit of space for Shearer. Shearer back across field. Out the back and picked up by Lyons again. Lyons on his own. Now Belcher. Belcher, good run. Elias. Frenetic stuff from Australia. Stuart throws the dummy. Meninga. And it comes down to Ettinghausen. Ettinghausen with pace. Ettinghausen kicks in field. And Stuart hits away. Lyons. And Lyons has scored. What a try. That is the greatest test try of all time.
We often say in big games of football, grand finals, origins, tests, you don't get a lot of opportunities and you've got to take the ones you get. And when you take that opportunity, it's got to be executed correctly.
Hanley can't be penalised.
Stuart. Oh, Laughlin. The intercept. Daly giving chase. But Laughlin. Laughlin will score. Laughlin has scored the try.
Ricky Stuart through the pass.
I was very fortunate with my childhood. I had younger brother, younger sister, and you know, 2 very supportive parents. Didn't have a lot of money or whatnot, but there's a lot of love in the family, still is. And I was 4 when I started playing union. I still remember my first coach. I still remember the boys we played with. I played 3 years of under-7s. That was my childhood upbringing, and I was very lucky because I met so many great blokes and mentors, you know, through that. And you know, the old man was obviously one of them. And weekends, I'd be his ball boy. I got a strong relationship with Dad, as have my brother and sister. I keep getting that tag that, you know, oh, he's too cranky or he's too intense. But that was the old man. And he was a fierce competitor. I remember a funny story, mate. I was a young bloke and had bronchitis. I was crook. And we had a game on that Sunday, and that Sunday morning in probably 2 degrees, 3 degrees with the frost, going out there around 7:30, 8 o'clock, because Dad was the president of the Queen Blues. He told Mum, he said, look, just put his boots and jumper in the car. And she said, he won't be allowed to play. So they wrapped me up in a blanket, took me out to the game. And anyhow, I think we might have been a little bit short or whatnot, but we were getting beaten too. And the old man said, Jackie, go and get his boots and his jumper. So I went on and had a little quick stint, and we scored a couple of tries, and he said, right, you can go now. So that's the old man for you, mate. It was it didn't matter if it was under 8s, under 10s, NRL or what. The old man was a very competitive bugger, and I think I might got a little bit of that off him. Pressure's involved in our game at every level. Even from a kid, I used to go to the park every day. I used to play football against myself in the backyard, the front yard. But I'd be at the park playing foursomes back by myself. I'd be having competitions on goal kicking, field goals by myself. For me, the best drill for a young footballer today is playing backyard footy, because there's nothing in that game you're not practicing, and you find out how tough you are.
And here at Old Trafford, the scores are level. It's Australia 10, Great Britain 10 minutes to go.
Throwing that intercept pass, you straight away, you think you've let everybody down. Not just people here in my team, I've let Australia down. My first go at halfback, I made it about myself then. I started to feel sorry for myself. I had my head down, all I wanted to do was dig a hole and die in it. We used to do a 7-minute drill at the Raiders training sessions. And the 7-minute drill was all about how much football was left in 7 minutes. Anyhow, Gary Belcher grabbed me behind the goal line and sort of had to give me a bit of a wake-up call, which he did. And he said, stop thinking about it, think about the team, 7-minute drill. And it sparked me into, wow, we've still got a lot of football left here. And I often say to players, you make an error, I'm not sitting there cranky, I'm sitting there watching what you do next. So we had to get back on the horse. I had to get the team back on track in regards to me first. I had to get me back on track for team's sake.
Stuart, the ball's going everywhere.
And once we did, we started playing a little bit of football again, but always in the back of my mind, I kept on saying to myself, we've still got a fair bit of football left here.
Almost no time left in the match. Stuart, here it comes now to Lindner. We're well into injury time. 40 seconds, in fact, as it comes away to Stuart again. Stuart throws the dummy. Now Ricky Stuart's on his own. He's up to the halfway. He's waiting for Eddie Housen. He's got support. Eddie Housen with him. Back at Housen. He gets goal. Oh, what a try. What a try. What a run from Stuart. And what a try from Niga.
Andrew Eddinghausen was sitting out on my right wing, and I was going to kick downfield for Andrew to chase. I always say now, don't kick and hope. Kick to execute for a result. And I was going to kick and hope that E2 got there. So the further I went, the bigger the shadow got that was hanging over me, and that was Mal, coming from the right-hand side of the field. And I felt Mal. I didn't hear him, I felt Mal. How he got there, I don't know. That is a special athlete. The rest was history. Winning that game, going on then to win the third test and winning the Ashes, came down to one moment.
Ricky Stuart, did you have to leave it to the last 60 seconds?
Oh, Graham, I've never had a feeling in all my life. When I threw that pass and he scored the try from the intercept, I let all the boys down, I let the whole touring squad down. We should have just shut up shop there and played tight football, but that pass come off. I feel like I had a death in the family when I threw that pass and I seen him score.
You got to hate losing as much as you love winning. I worry about a guy who hasn't got that. I worry about guys who just want to play, whether it's just for their money or not play for their mate. When I recruit a player, he has to have talent. He has to love the game, and he has to be passionate. He's got to be a good bloke. The players have got to play for each other. More importantly, they've got to want to play for the club, to understand the history, understand what become before them. That is important for me, number one.
Why was that Raiders side so successful?
Talent and a great coach.
In Brisbane. It's great, isn't it? The Raiders have done the impossible. Darling runs through the gap. Belcher, that is deserved.
We're always seen as the outsiders, we're always seen as the little brothers. And we played on that, and we used that.
The Negus picked it up. Chicken George has got support too. And they're pulled out just almost the almost is there.
We had our own confidence and belief in ourselves and didn't show a lot of concern to that.
Raiders have a forward play. Raiders have a forward play.
The outside team had only been in the competition for 8 years, had already been in 3 grand finals come 1990, and there was a lot of people in New South Wales that were uncomfortable with that.
Stuart floats a high ball for Chica comes back inside.
Yes, we most definitely use that as an influence towards motivating one another to keep being a thorn in their side.
Back inside, Daly's in there to score.
I was very fortunate to have such talent around me. When you got Brad Clyde inside you with Steve Walls as a 9, and you got Laurie Daly sitting on your edge, and you got your international fullbacker in Belch, you got Meninga sitting there, it made my job easy.
I really couldn't have done it without the 15 or 16 players that got on the field, and a coach that I hope that sticks around for a lot longer, that's Tim Sheens.
We were just such a mentally strong, resilient football team, and Tim Sheens built that. Tim was just so thorough in his teachings. He was a nerd for preparation, the attention to detail. He was a great master of the tactical game, brutally honest, and he was great for a young bloke coming through.
Only just settling down now, but I just got to filled with pride for the players.
The reins of confidence fell on Mal Meninga and his team of Raiders.
There's Osborne. He throws the dummy. Can he get the way? Yes! There's a try!
36 points to 12 in one of the most emphatic grand final victories of the modern era.
Intercepted by Meninga. McGregor pursues. McGregor's after Meninga. The crowd roars.
Captain, Mal Meninga.
I know when I was a young bloke playing with Mal Meninga, as long as he ran over the sideline with me, I didn't care if he played good or bad. Mal Meninga gave so many people confidence. And when you got that confidence, you got belief in your own game.
And there were calls today for the Raiders to become this region's roving ambassadors.
Let's take you back to Canberra. We'll have a look at some of the pictures of the Raiders celebration.
There's about 5,000 people out here, Matt, and Laurie just told them that it's going to be a big party tonight. How big a party, Laurie?
Well, I don't think we'll get named, Chavo, and you'll be with us, so.
As I said, the party's starting here. See you later.
The greatest asset of winning a comp is doing it with all your teammates. It just gives you a special bond because you've all achieved something so great. You've all achieved something that a lot of people haven't, and it just creates that unique bond between you, and you have your reunions 10, 15, 20 years down the track after you retire, and you're very fortunate if you can go back and be proud of something that you have achieved. We're all sorry, what's the goal again? Yep. Can I just start again? Keep going? Let me just, hang on, sorry, I've got to go back because it's important that I say this properly. Okay.
See how great your game can be. Super League.
The one thing I learnt there was that money can create so much friction, and it didn't tear our club apart. Super League kept us together. And I think for me, that show of loyalty and mateship was something that bonded us together. The media attention that it created was uncomfortable.
Well, the man who's at the centre of the Super League storm, both ARL and News Limited were throwing bucket loads of money to try and sign him. Welcome the most sought-after footballer in the world, live from Canberra, Ricky Stuart.
This is no ordinary time for rugby league football.
News Limited is free to set up a rival competition as soon as it wishes.
I'm not sure whether two competitions will work.
From our point of view, we're pushing ahead. We've still got to sign up more players.
The need for change and the pressing demand for the modernisation of the game to make it fairer, more attractive and broader in appeal.
Stuart is expected to make a final decision in Canberra this morning.
Ricky Stuart will announce which party his future football will be played for. If Stuart signs with the ARL, it will be heralded by the Sports Administration as a major victory.
Tomorrow, the main man for both sides, Ricky Stuart, makes his decision and both camps are confident.
I don't think at this stage we're claiming total victory.
Crucial factor will be his loyalty to the club and to his friends here. That'll be the deciding factor, I think.
I remember in Townsville when we arrived to play a game, and that night we were all approached by News Limited executives to sign a contract for a Super League. We all signed that night, and I remember saying, you know, it's one in all in here. The next morning I got a phone call from Phil Gould saying, what the hell have you done? John Quayle, Ken Arthurson and Bob Fulton, along with Gus, wanted to talk to me, and I thought it was the right thing for me to do, and I went and explained the process of why we signed, and they said I've been pressured into it, and they wanted another meeting.
Super League saga. Stuart has already signed with the News Limited-backed Super League, but the ARL has been wooing him strongly to return.
The real battle was being fought in Canberra. Channel 9's James Packer, Australian coach Bob Fulton, and ARL Chief Executive John Quayle flying in to twist the arm of Raider Ricky Stuart. Already committed to the Star League, the Test half signature is seen as crucial to the credibility of both competitions, and the ARL is desperate to get him back.
I still remember the meeting very well. It was to try and entice me to go back on the contract I'd signed with News Limited, but I never could because we signed to stay together as a group, as a club. It kept us from being torn apart from the rival clubs who were trying to poach our players. I walked in with my lawyer. James Packer immediately sacked him, saying it was a conflict of interest because of the company he worked for. And that didn't go down real well for me because here I am, a young guy just walking in trying to take somebody to give me some advice. It was a very, very tough meeting because on one hand I had the Canberra Raiders and all my mates here, which is why I signed for them. And on the other hand here I had two guys I respected immensely in my rep coaches in Bob Fulton and Phil Gould. It wasn't a situation where I was going to jump out of that meeting. Super League then renegotiated contracts with a number of our players, and a number of the players got a lot more money in Super League.
The news that the rugby league world has been waiting for. Ricky Stuart will remain with the Raiders and the News Limited Super League.
One of the major battles was decided today with Ricky Stuart remaining with the Rebels.
Why have you decided to stick with Super League?
Because I think it's the way to go for Ricky Stuart and also, and most importantly, the Canberra Raiders.
And how difficult was it to keep Ricky Stuart? He seemed to be wavering there for a while. Were you worried?
Well, you know, he's always going to be an important member of the Super League concept, and he's obviously sat back and he thought about it, and now he's made the decision. He's totally committed to us, and we look forward to being involved with him.
There was a lot of negativity, a lot of criticism of the players, but the players were pawns. If Kerry Packer goes out and makes $20 or $30 or $40 million, he's seen as a very smart businessman. But as rugby league players who are looking at the options and what offers are available to them, they're seen as greedy, and I thought that was unfair. You know, I was always told that as a young coach, you can't get too close to your players. But I work hard to get close to them. Because you're with them so many hours of the week, you're not only watching them train or play, you're hearing about illnesses at home, the kids, or issues that arrive, and you want to help them through it because it's part of one big family. It's a matter of helping one another. And I always say that it's not about them all wanting to like me or being my best friend, but it's I want them to all trust me. In 2000, I did my knee halfway through the year at the Dogs, and I wasn't playing well. I was wanting to play another season. I didn't want to give up playing. My body was giving up on me, and actually doing my ACL was made a really tough decision easy.
By 3 o'clock this afternoon, Stuart's 13-year rugby league career was over.
I suppose the injuries made it a little bit easier for me, knowing that I physically can't go on, but just sad that I probably can't play football again.
Canterbury were great to me. They offered me the under-20s coaching gig the next season. We won the comp that year. And I still remember being at a hospital and Phil Gould rang me. I was at the hospital visiting a mate of mine who had an accident. Phil said to me, would you be interested in coaching the Roosters? And I said, no, mate. I said, I'm not ready to be coaching first grade yet. Phil said, I'll make you ready. I'll help you. After talking to Phil, understanding that he was going to be the general manager of football, I found I had experience around me. So I said yes.
Oh yeah, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit nervous, but more to the fact that I'm excited as the players are. I'm really looking forward to the event.
To have a successful culture, everybody's got to buy into it. The vision that you create, the story that I'm selling, but they've got to be consistent with it. It's not a one day or 1 week thing. It's every day, 7 days a week, for 52 weeks of the year. A lot of the players I coached in my first year at the Roosters, I either played against, some I played with. I was only 35. It was going to be interesting how the relationship was seen by both. So I took Brad Fittler for a game of golf.
Working left with Fletcher. Inside ball for Fittler. Fittler will get there for the Roosters. Fittler will score. Fittler steps. Fittler will score for the Roosters. How many times have you seen that in the glorious career of Freddie Fittler?
Brad was at my wedding. We toured in 90 and 94. Played a lot of football together. And I said, Brad, you're going to be the first person I have to attack in regards to standards and values, our behaviour. And I didn't have to go to him once. And he was always first to training. Always the first one to be doing the individual extras at the end of the session. He was always the one leading the standards, driving the players at training, making my job easier. And I'll never forget that. And it taught me one thing, that if your leader's on board, I can make it a player-centric club. I wanted players to have a handle, an understanding of the vision we needed, what type of club we wanted to be seen as, and Brad Fittler drove that. And that was one thing I'll always give him credit for. The players followed Brad's lead. And we had a very, very healthy, motivated, hungry group of players.
Now for Fittler, cut out ball, Fitzgibbon, away they come, and Shannon Haggerty's over. As easy as you like.
Cuts out a couple to give it to Holbrook, who gives it on to Hodges. He got in behind them, fires a lovely pass to Ricketson, who won't have the speed to outrun Blacklock. They've got a beautiful pass to Phillips, who staggered, who stumbled, but fell across the line.
As a young coach, there was days I was turning up to training with the same energy, anxiety as a player. And I think with my body language and my actions, they could feel the intensity, they could feel the desire.
We need 17 players turning up every week and playing well as individuals to get a result.
They knew it was personal to me in regards to winning, something I try and breed into every other player I coach.
Fittler's over the 20. Hodges has another go. Hodges is over. This is a magnificent try.
We had something special brewing. We had some talented players, we had some great balance because we had a lot of youth as well.
The ground, here's a loose ball. It's picked up here by Mullen. Mullins extends. I don't think they're going to get in. Mullins will make it. Mullins scores. The Roosters are into the grand final.
We're getting a little bit of credibility and we don't want to disappoint anybody.
We get to grand final night and we were very confident. It was an exciting season coming from a new coach, new group of players, building a new culture, into building one of the fittest, aggressive defensive teams in the competition.
We are underway. The Roosters running from right to left.
It was a wonderful journey from a young coach, a new team, building a new culture and a new brand and style of player that we wanted to be seen as. But this aggressive defensive football team, this exciting attacking team, we had to come from behind.
Marsh combining with Jones after CU2. You gave them an opportunity. Here's Jones in his space. Jones is inside the 10. Jones scores.
It was a tough game. I talked to you about belief. I talked to you about confidence a lot. We had that. We come home in the second half the stronger football team.
Play back for Shannon Hegarty. There's a chance for Fitzgibbon. Fittler puts a kick in. He had to hurry. Flannery scores. Flannery dives on the loose ball.
The one moment I'll remember is what we tried to build all year about playing for each other, looking after one another's back. Was when Richard Villasanti hit Brad Fittler late and high.
Plays it back for Crocker again, and this time to the boot of Brad. Oh! Fittler! Oh! He's been taken a couple of times. Fittler's bleeding from a gash above the left eye.
He has been hammered.
The way he was attacked by Adrian Morley and his forward pack for the rest of the game was the fabric that we tried to build all season. That culture about playing for each other. And it was very evident.
Fittler is with the ball, puts a little kick in. Jones is there. Can Jones get the ball back? Jones is tackled in goal. To Flannery. Flannery to Ricketson. Ricketson to Fletcher. Fletcher puts the arm up and he goes over. Fletcher scores. The grand final of 2002 is over.
Had some wonderful players, some wonderful talented players that night that owned the moment. On the big stage, the biggest game of the year, and winning that grand final.
Ricky Stewart's Sydney Roosters have won. Ricky Stewart joins McMahon, Probyn, Walsh, Nosworthy, Gould and Hagan as premiership winners in their first season as top-grade coaches.
Winning a grand final is the greatest feeling you can have as a rugby league player or coach. It's what drives you. It's a drug. Winning one as a player and a coach, I want more of that drug. It's a different feeling as a coach winning a grand final to a player. It's relief that we've done it, but more the joy of what you're seeing your players enjoying right at that moment.
Oh, I love everyone for making me feel this good. This is beautiful.
And I think it's a very important lesson that coaching isn't about what you want. It's about what you can do for others.
The players deserve all the credit. They were fantastic tonight. We probably didn't play our best football, but the effort and the dedication, the commitment was 100%.
It was a wonderful era at the Roosters. Making a grand final is it's a big job. You need a little bit of luck, it's hard work, and you need talent. And we did that for 3 years in a row, creating for me the monster of just wanting to win another grand final again. I've been coaching now for a long time. I think it's 19 years, and the two things that have got me through it is family, immediate family, my extended family, but also my mates. There's a lot more hurdles to overcome. There's a lot more tough times, or there has been in my career, than the good times. Gee, my mates have got me through it. Over the last 2 weeks, I haven't really known what I've been through, where Mum and Dad and my wife has been through everything. In 1998, it was the biggest challenge I've had in my career. I contracted a a virus called encephalitis, and it was like a swelling of the brain. I got this through an infection through a mouth ulcer. If you can imagine your worst hangover and times it by 100, that's what I was feeling like.
After 2 weeks of tests and treatment, Stuart is being diagnosed with viral encephalitis, an inflammation of the brain. Stuart suffering from constant headaches, fits and loss of speech. But until he arrived in Sydney for treatment, nobody could pin down the cause.
I had these symptoms for 3 to 4 weeks, and I was playing with them. And it wasn't until I was at a function, come home and collapsed and lost all my speech and went to the hospital. And this happened 3 times, where they kept telling me I had migraine headaches. But I knew it was something a lot different.
I honestly thought it was like an epileptic fit, and the doctors just explained to you what it was, but that's what it was like, and that's when I was in a position where I didn't know what I was getting.
I still remember calling Don Ferner Jr., who is now my CEO, and said, mate, this is not right. He came over and he realised there was an issue. John rang Alan Jones, who immediately rang Kerry Packer, who I didn't know at the time. Had his plane flown directly to Canberra, and from there on in I don't remember very much at all. All I can remember from my 2.5, 3 weeks in St Vincent's Hospital was I thought I was locked up in school. I thought I was locked up at my college and I wasn't allowed out. I tried to break out of hospital, from what I've been told, a number of times. There was a time there where the police had to be called to keep me in hospital, and I was nearly taken to the psychiatric ward. It was a horrendous time for my wife. Emma was just born. But, you know, it's all a part of the journey.
We read in a newspaper report last week that there's an American basketballer who contracted the same virus, who is now confined to a wheelchair. So as I said, I'm one of the lucky ones, and I see myself as one of the lucky ones.
Now, after the tremendous shock and, of course, anxiety Ricky Stuart and his family has been through over the past few weeks, everyone has been very relieved to learn that he's going to be okay.
It was frustrating for Ricky, and it was frustrating for the guys. You know, we'd go to training and everyone would be asking what the go was. No one knew.
I got back to playing that year, and then that was the year that Bradley Clyde and myself were terminated from the club. And that was probably the most disappointing part of my career at the Raiders.
I was born and bred here, and I see that as the hardest thing to come to terms with.
I think those experiences certainly helped me with players that are facing challenges, whether it's them individually or family. I think it most definitely toughens you up. It was a moment in my life where I realised how important friends are, how important family is and close friends, because it wasn't so much scary for me, but it was very, very scary for my family. When the opportunity to come home to coach the Raiders was offered to me, this time I couldn't say no. This just felt right. This was the real deal in regards to going to Cronulla and creating that passion for that one-town team. I was coming home, where I belong. Not everybody was convinced that I was the right bloke for the job, and I still mightn't be. I'll only think I was the right bloke for the job the day we win a comp. There was a lot of people thinking that he ain't the answer. And publicly it was hard, and you could feel it, you could tell that people weren't happy. It made me fight harder. It made me work harder. There was a vote here for the next coach. And I won that vote, only just. One of the board members took me to lunch for the first time and he said to me, I just want to let you know, I didn't vote for you, which I thought was very honest and typical of this man. Now he'd seen what I've been doing, or trying to do, and he said, but now I'm going to die in the ditches with you. That's the Raiders. I've been given a wonderful privilege to be head coach of this club. I was a player here. And when you love a club, you love the people involved in the club, that's where I can make it real personal. And that's what I'm best at. It's very hard to describe the feeling losing a grand final. Even harder, trying to come up with some words to console your players.
The Raiders, they have gone so close.
2019 was a very special year by making the grand final. It was special for me because it delivered the hunger and the desire and the experience these boys needed. And these boys need it if we're going to win one. Close is not good enough. We have to win a grand final. We've still got a window, and it's my job to keep building that window for years to come.